say welcome to you all and welcome to our visitors. We have people from Nottingham, Oxford, Manchester. We've got Manchester here?
Couple Manchester.
Wow. All come to, all friends of Ted's and Ted and Marlene's who come here to celebrate his big day. It's a huge honour for us to do this, and look at, he's dressed up. And look at, we all look very underdressed today, I have to say. Well, I mean, Ted is so well known. I'm going to say more. I'm not going to say he needs no introduction. He does need no introduction, but I'm going to say a little bit more than that. He is going to, of course, tell you his latest stuff and maybe reprise some of the ideas that he's been having ideas forever, right? And was one of the people who inspired me in my research, one of the key people. In fact, I first heard Ted talk, and I think my recollection was 1989 in Toronto. I don't suppose you remember that, but it was a Computers and Humanities Conference at University of Toronto. And I was there with the Microcosm Bunch, Andrew Fountain, Ian Heath, and because Ted to us was a hero already by then, because we were doing hypertext, and he invented it, so we'd read all the stuff, and anyway, you signed my copy of Literary Machines in Toronto, I remember that. And I remember you were always surrounded by crowds of people, and I thought, oh, I'll never get to know him as well as these people do. And they were usually people that were developing systems for you, because you always bond very well with your teams. And then I think, I was just asking Marlene, I think that it was your 60th birthday when we actually got to know you better, because I think you were in Japan at that time, and John Doe and Stuart Goose, who some of the oldest here will remember, went to a conference, a multimedia conference in Japan. They were talking about agency stuff, and they met you there, and they said, why don't you come visit Southampton? And you came to Southampton, and the rest, as they say, is history. And it's a privilege to say that these people are now personal friends of mine who've spent lots of lovely time together. And it's, as I say, it's a huge honour for us to throw this party for Ted. Now, of course, we couldn't throw a party for Ted, who amazingly is 70 on June the 17th. Doesn't look it at all. We couldn't throw a party, of course, without Ted talking to us. And so he did ask for a 5-hour slot. I kid you not. He can justify why he would ask for 5, but we've sort of restricted. We have to be out of here by 7 o'clock, guys. I remember Ted's early catchphrase, if it was everything is deeply intertwingled. And I've used that a lot in my talks. And now we've got intertwingularity as ideas collide, is it? Ted, the floor is yours.
This is going to be something different from what I usually do. I'm tired of talking about computers and computer media. I'm so tired of it. But first, I want to thank a few people. I want to thank especially Marlene Mallicote, my partner, for so much support over the years. Thanks to the University of Southampton, and thanks to you all. The fond memories here, the 6 months that I've enjoyed most in my adult life. And thanks to Wendy Hall, Radio's department. It's such a nice place. I believe that the atmosphere of an organization is directly emanates from its head, and to the extent that it's possible in a UK department, Wendy makes this family-like. And thanks to people I've worked with, Ian Heath, Chris Gutteridge, Les Carr, I guess none of them are here tonight, co-op, and Rob Smith, and the lads from Nottingham. So, I'll be 70 in a month. I can't believe that quite. Some say I seem younger. And the question is why? And it's as they say in biblical epics, because my work on earth is not yet done. You may have heard of my other work, especially the Xanadu Project, intended to empower creativity and understanding for everyone. Plus, I very much needed that software, and I do not understand why it is not at the top of everyone else's agenda, because everything else is so wrong. Electronic documents are so beneath contempt in their present form. But I don't want to talk about that. I haven't done remotely what I wanted to do because, like John Mauchly, my good friend who was one of the inventors of computing, he got caught making tools. When I started, I should have considered what happened to other people who tried to innovate in media infrastructure. Johannes Gutenberg went bankrupt and his tools were stolen by his son-in-law, I believe. Tesla, the inventor of radio. You thought Marconi was the inventor of radio? Tesla's patents finally won in court, and they were earlier. Tesla, the inventor of radio, died penniless, a ward of the IEEE Society. Farnsworth, the inventor of TV, was driven out of business. Armstrong, the inventor of superheterodyny and amplification, which made radio practical, tried to get FM radio going and finally jumped off the Empire State Building. Stubblefield, the inventor of broadcasting, starved to death and was eaten by rats. So, I feel relatively lucky. So is Douglas Engelbart, my good friend. We have different agendas, but we have very much the same attitude toward the way things are, how much they need change. Now, I think of myself as a generalist, what you call in this country a polymath. But when I was 14, I typed out little business cards that said, Ted Nelson, Nexialist. I got the word out of a science fiction book, Voyage of the Space Beagle by A.E. Van Vogt. A Nexialist was someone who finds connections. So I was already on my wavelength, and I continue to try to do that. So what I thought I'd talk about tonight was is interesting connections. Connections that I find interesting. Also with the thought that even if you're a generalist, you may make a serious contribution somewhere, even where you least expect it. For example, I never expected anyone else to use the word intertwingularity, and there it is on the web. Alfred Wegener is a nice example. Alfred Wegener was a meteorologist, invented the weather balloon, but he came up with a hypothesis in a different field that took a long time to catch on. When I was 10 years old, my grandfather, who loved globes, he said to me, look at that. Do you see how the corner of Brazil fits into the notch of Africa? They've moved apart. They were once connected. And I said, oh, Pop, no scientist believes that. And we were both right. I was in tune with what the Popular Science magazine said, and the theories of Wegener, or perhaps the next guy, turn out to be now accepted. Okay, so I'm going to talk about interesting stuff and not talk about my own very much.